Well, Derek, I got to say, I thought this game was a pretty great microcosm for the Chiefs' entire season. Maybe just who the Chiefs are as a team, where you come out on Monday Night Football against the Commanders, looks a little sloppy in the early going, couple uncharacteristic mistakes, couple execution errors, don't look like the dominant team we know them to be. And right around the time you're starting to get concerned or curious about it, they just snap back to reality and pull away. And they win this game 28-7, looking like they never really needed to get out of third gear. And that's kind of where they are as a team now. They opened the season 0-2. And right around the time people are starting to wonder what's going on with the Chiefs, they get it together and they've won, 5 out of their last 6 games.
What's funny is I remember doing this with them last year. Like, I remember last year.
It's a rite of passage for the fall, basically.
It really is. Like, I don't know how I need to treat the Chiefs until October now, maybe. Like, I remember last year we were doing is Patrick Mahomes throwing too many interceptions? Is he doing all this stuff? And then by the end of the season, it was like, oh yeah, he's the best quarterback in the league again. And I think early in this year that happened. The first 3 games, it was like he was playing well, but man, it was like, oh, does the offense have it? Can they find their next gear? And then Xavier Worthy starts to get a little bit healthy again. Hollywood Brown starts to get a little bit healthy again. Travis Kelce starts to get a little bit more activated. Rashee Rice now comes back the last 2 weeks. And it's like, oh yeah, when those guys are all healthy and Patrick Mahomes is on the field, they are one of the scariest offenses in the league again, outside of Travis Kelce having one weird drop interception today.
They're just going to have a couple hiccups. And the funny thing is, you can even see in the moment, they're never bothered by this stuff. Like Patrick Mahomes' first interception was, I think it's fair to call it a questionable decision. Like, as amazing as he was for most of this game, and he was pulling all the strings and looking as good as ever, but in the early going, like, that's a questionable decision. Marshawn Lattimore undercuts the throw to the sideline, and Patrick Mahomes was just like, that's weird. All right, we'll try that again next time. Just like completely unbothered. Like,
you could see him looking up at the scoreboard, being like, "Huh, how did that happen?" All right, whatever.
All right, well, next time we're down here, because we will be down here again, I'll do something different, and that's you've earned that right to be that confident. But my big takeaway from this game, I wanted to build on what you just said, because watching the second half of this, and look, the Commanders defense, I said this during the game, like, I don't think this would have been a great unit anyway. But when you talk about some of the injuries that they're dealing with, they lose Javon Kinlaw during this game, depleted in the secondary, and just getting older as well. I know this isn't some fire-breathing unit, but watching the Chiefs and watching the way that they were getting everybody involved in this game, Derek, this isn't ever going to be the Eagles in terms of like raw star power, but I'm so impressed by the Chiefs' depth on offense. And it feels like the first time that you can say that in quite a while, where obviously Mahomes and Kelce have been doing this forever. Rashee Rice is back now. You see all the different roles he can fill for this offense. Xavier Worthy is growing into a guy that you can trust. Juju's been a guy that Mahomes trusts for 3 or so years now. And this is going to sound dumb, but they have like a stable of guys in the backfield now, like Kareem Hunt looking as good as he has since he rejoined the Chiefs last year, Isaiah Pacheco, obviously, and even guys who still have like a bit role. Like, I'm noticing the spark that a guy like Brashard Smith can bring to the table, and the stuff that they're trying to build into their game plans for him. I don't think it's hit yet in a noticeable way, because I think he had a nice game that was like called back by a flag, but like, you can see the stuff they're trying to do. And all of a sudden I'm like, man, Mahomes has like 8 guys that he feels good about getting the ball to. When was the last time you felt like that was the case?
And that's such a good point, like with that Brashad Smith play, because on that play, they're trying to run like that same side toss where they have one of the receivers blocked down on the end and they get the left tackle sprinting out to the perimeter. That's not an Isaiah Pacheco run. That's not a Kareem Hunt run. You have to do that with a guy like Brashard Smith. And so that, on top of some of the passing game stuff that they've tried to get going with him, like, you're right, they haven't hit that big play, but you can feel it coming with this offense, right? Like, it's just the way that they're trying to get him involved, the way that everything else is working the offense, it feels like that's coming. And to me, what really stuck out to me in this game is Patrick Mahomes doesn't need like a Jamar Chase or an AJ Brown or whatever. It's like, can you give him enough options, 3 or 4 guys that he trusts, and an offensive line that is not actively killing him. And I think they've checked both of those boxes. And when he does that, I posted something on Blue Sky tonight. His shot selection and shot creation is like the best I've ever seen. Like, it's just ability to like take 3 steps one way and all of a sudden a defender's out of place and he throws the touchdown. I mean, that last Rashee Rice touchdown he throws, he just kind of shimmies around in the pocket, steps up, and the linebacker's like, oh, I've got to go cover him. Rashee Rice is wide open now. Like, just his ability to do that so consistently and make those throws, it's why he's special.
Robert makes the analogy all the time, and other people do too, but like the idea of putting the scope on somebody's linebackers or the weak link in a defense. In this case, it was definitely Washington's linebackers. Like, it felt like every time the Chiefs got down in the red zone, they did something heinous to Washington's linebackers, like the Rashee Rice little hezzy on the crosser on that last one. Bobby Wagner tried to drop Kareem Hunt in the low red zone, and like just nobody knew to pick him up. You could go back and watch the replay. Bobby Wagner just looks like the most defeated man. Like the way he just slumps, like, oh my God, what are we doing? And then even on the Travis Kelce touchdown, which I think he tied like the Chiefs record for most touchdowns by a skill player. Congrats to Travis Kelce. But Patrick Mahomes wiggles out of the pocket and looks to Isaiah Pacheco in the flat, and like Trey Amos and Jordan McGee and like half the whole right side of Washington's defense just like sucks down to the line of scrimmage, leaving Travis Kelce one-on-one on a dig. And it's easy money. And like time and time again, they were just abusing those guys in those high leverage situations.
And it's funny too, because like I feel like in some of those scenarios, people will be like, "Well, why are they chasing Mahomes' eyes? Just like stay disciplined, whatever." And it's like, because there's an assumption that when you play Mahomes, that whatever he's looking at is about to be like a huge play. So like you just gravitate to whatever he's looking at. And so there was that. I also think like in terms of the creating shots that nobody else can create, the Noah Gray throw he had in, I think it might have been the early fourth quarter, where he gets pressure from one of the defensive tackles. So he steps up in the pocket, immediately parlays that into sliding to his left, and then wheels back towards the middle of the field and just rips a throw across his body to Noah Gray. It's like, how many other guys can make that throw? Like maybe Josh and Lamar, and like that might be it. Like he has such a special ability when he's just not under duress and getting killed on every single play, that when he feels like he can go into that creation mode, he's special. And you saw it again tonight.
I'm watching that snap back while you're describing it, and that's the one where he like does the shortstop cut like at the sideline and just whips it back to the interior of the field, which that's become such a patented part of Mahomes's game. But it's still worth highlighting. Like, don't take that stuff for granted, A, and B, I know he's done it throughout his career. Maybe I'm just more excited about watching the Chiefs offense. But again, like with the depth of options available to him, I think you're seeing it work more often. And I think there's more willingness to do it. Or like I said, maybe it's just paying off more than it was last year. And so we're getting to see some of that stuff that made the Chiefs so fun when they were first beginning this run 7 years ago. I mean, I don't know if they have a weapon quite as electric as prime Tyreek Hill, but you have guys that can sort of bring that out of Mahomes again, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, I think it's like I think you're on the right track. Like to me, I don't know if he's doing it more, but you just feel more comfortable doing it again, right? And like especially compared to
maybe that's
like,
the way to say it.
And like even remember those first 2 or 3 weeks, it was like he was trying to do some of this stuff, but it felt a little antsy. Didn't feel like he felt super comfortable with all the guys he was throwing to. And now he's got all his guys again, and it just looks easy for him.
And it's worth mentioning too, Trey Smith out of this game, and Josh Simmons has now been missing for 3 weeks. So it sounds like there's optimism that Simmons will be back at some point. Same thing with Trey Smith. So like, again, this is where you are with a couple of pieces of that offensive line not there. I think we all thought it was going this way, but I mean, this was the Chiefs just kind of ho-humming their way to a very comfortable second half win. I mean, they scored the only points after halftime, and now you got oh man, it's Derek. It's the Bills coming up next week, bud. So this will be a fun stretch here for Kansas City. Buffalo, Denver, and Indianapolis. I'm reading the schedule in real time right here. Great 3-week stretch to see, just not that we need to see where the Chiefs are, but like I think most people view this as like the best team in the NFL right now, and they got a chance to really go let everybody know.
Exactly. Like almost certainly we'll feel fine about the Chiefs no matter how that stretch rolls out. But there's a chance that if they go 3-0 there and have like 1 or 2 super convincing wins, we're like, oh shit, they're doing it again, where they're that team. I think the other thing too that you mentioning this feels like kind of ho hum, like the Chiefs are a little bit back. The part of this game that made me really feel that way was Andy Reid doing some weird ass stuff in the red zone again, like the Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy Wildcat play, where they like or they give Rashee Rice power one way as the quote quarterback, and then they have Worthy on a fake like bash read to the left. It's just like Andy Reid getting into his weird red zone bag again. It's like, oh yeah, the Chiefs, they're having fun again in a way they didn't last year.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was trying to say earlier is like the Chiefs just have, it's not that they weren't good. Obviously, they went freaking 15-2 last year, but there's just more confidence. Like there's more willingness to try shit because you think it might work, and not just like, let's pare this down to the essentials that are going to get us over the finish line. And I mean, you're seeing it you're obviously seeing it bear out with like what Mahomes is doing and what Reid might be willing to call, but also just the games, man. Like they've been kicking the shit out of everybody. Like it's easy to forget, at least it is for me. Like last year, all those tight finishes week after week after week, it was so stressful. And here, all of these wins, even if they haven't all been gorgeous, they've all been by multiple possessions. And I mean, you could even argue if Devin Lloyd doesn't make an incredible play in that Jags game, they could be on like a 6-game win streak right now. So yeah, it definitely feels different, even if the idea of the Chiefs winning is not really original.
Yeah, and like you said, like maybe some of their wins have been ugly, but it's like all their losses have been really close too. I mean, again, the Devin Lloyd just making the play of a career to get them over that game, and then obviously the Jags getting lucky at the end of that game when Trevor Lawrence falls on his back and is able to somehow get up and score and win that game, and then even only losing the first 2 games of the season by a score in games where Mahomes did play well, especially to me against the Chargers. So I feel weirdly like really, really good. Not weirdly, obviously they're the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, but like I feel very confident about where this team is at, which is definitely a much better place than we were last year, where it was just like, oh my God, this feels very unstable despite all of the wins.
I was actually thinking about that on my way in here to talk to you, where just thinking about how we viewed the Chiefs. And I think we did a really great job of laying out our expectations for them in the preseason preview. Like we said, hey, this could be the most explosive Chiefs offense we've seen in quite a few years. The Chiefs could get back to their exciting ways, but I still didn't pick them to reach the Super Bowl. And I was like walking in here to record, and I was like, was I just feeling that way because it's boring to pick the Chiefs to make it to their 4th Super Bowl? And sorry if this is the case, but like I think maybe that's what it comes down to, because this was all there to see if you were paying attention. And even in the early going of the season, you were like, okay, well, it'll be better when you get Rashee Rice back. Like Josh Simmons is a rookie. He might take some time to grow into things. Like even with early season struggles, this was all on the table from the beginning. And maybe I just had Chiefs fatigue. I don't know.
I think it was like maybe some Chiefs fatigue. And I know that this probably crept into my mind too, like a little bit, just like we all remember how bad the Super Bowl was. And so even though they won 15 games and got to the Super Bowl, sometimes the last thing that you saw is just a little bit hard to erase from our minds. And so I think that on top of, at least in my case, my optimism going in with the Ravens this year, where obviously that has not turned out so well. It was a little bit easier for me to pick not the Chiefs, but it's looking again like if I had to pick a team in the AFC right now, it would probably pretty comfortably be them.
Going back to what you said about the cool play calling, I also really loved the like Rashee Rice swing pass screen that they ran early in the 4th quarter too. Like the options that are available to you with a player like that, like lining him up in the backfield, moving him around like wherever you want to, obviously. Like he split his time pretty evenly between out wide and the slot. Just the stuff that's available to you with a player like that, and you can kind of see it. Like maybe this is a player that inspires Andy Reid's creativity even more so than usual.
Definitely. And I want to say too, but like before we just spend like the whole show talking about the offense, I want to talk about the defense very quickly because honestly, for the first month of the year, they were not that good.
I was curious what you take from this. Just I don't know, like the Commanders' offensive line was beat to shit. Laramie Tunsil left this game. Like he got hurt early, he came back, then they shut him down at halftime. Obviously, you don't have Jayden Daniels, which is the biggest part of this. So it was nice to see him holding the opponent to 7 points. I'm curious how much you take from it because I sort of grade on a curve in that way.
I do too, but like I think my thing is like based on what the Chiefs defense did in like the first 3 weeks, I'm not sure that they could have been capable to hold an offense even like this down to 7 because they still have some decent skill players, right? Like McLaurin obviously playing really well. Mariota, like they've shown that they can make this offense work at times with Mariota. So I thought that maybe they could do something, and they had some decent design stuff. Like they actually hit a really cool. They like faked power to the left and then booted Mariota out to the right and had Bates slipping out from left to right and hit him on a big boot. So like they did some cool stuff. I think if I really took anything away from the Chiefs perspective, it was just that even though I know this was against a banged up Washington offensive line, George Karlaftis is having a really good season and he had 9 pressures in this game. And he was like, and he had like a tip at the very end in the fourth quarter. Like he's never going to be a superstar edge rusher, but he's an edge rusher that is really annoying to have to play against all the time. He just pushes the pocket, he finishes plays, he gets his hand up. And I think even in a game like this, you saw him really do that again tonight.
He's, I mean, it sounds maybe like not being fair to him to call him like a utility man because he is like, he's this big money edge rusher and he's supposed to be the guy that gets all the sacks and he does do that, but like he wears so many other hats for this team. And yeah, he's a really fun player to watch, even if he's not like that sexy 15 sacks a year, like running the hula hoop sort of player, you know?
He's just the perfect, like if you have a Chris Jones, you kind of would like another defensive lineman on your team who can be that like utility, do everything, really good run defender, pushes the pocket, can do games. Like he's just, when you already have the superstar, even if you're paying for a premium for a guy like Karlaftis, I think he's like super valuable to have and has been maybe the best that he's ever been in his career, I think, this season.
I have a couple takeaways from the Commanders going against the Chiefs offense. Number one is I applaud Dan Quinn for going for the gusto with this thing because it was successful in the beginning. Like we were joking about it. This was a weird start to a game. I mean, shoot, the first 5 possessions of this game were turnovers, if you count turnovers on downs. I was just like, damn, are we just doing this all night? Honestly, I was kind of for that. I was like, if we want to have like a 7-3 game where nobody scores until the fourth quarter, that would be kind of fun. But the Commanders were moving the ball early on. I mean, you know, like they got into Chiefs territory on their first 3 possessions. Dan Quinn elects to go for it 2 times in the early going, 4th and 6 from the Kansas City 40. That was the one where they called in the virtual spot check and they were ruled short. And then Marcus Mariota tries for the end zone on a 4th and 1 from the Kansas City 28. Kind of looked like he had Zach Ertz open just to keep the chains moving, but that's a story for another day, I guess.
No, I'm so glad you bring that up because they, on that play, he's got, McLaurin in the left slot. And that to me felt like he knew he was getting pressure. It's a big 4th down. I'm just going to take my one-on-one with the guy I trust, which like fair. Terry McLaurin is a really good player and I understand the thinking there. But if he had just like waited a half beat or at least like took the snap and looked one way at the blitz really quick before just making the throw you're going to make, he would see that the nickel right in front of Zach Ertz fires and like you have that window. And so if he just took that extra beat, like they could have converted there.
I do appreciate it though. And like it would be easy to kill Dan Quinn for being too aggressive, but let's be real. Like the Commanders were outgunned in this game. You're moving the ball early. If you cash in these opportunities, especially because you do get an uncharacteristic early interception from Patrick Mahomes, you get an even more uncharacteristic 2 in a row. If you cash in those opportunities and you're up 10-0 or preferably 14-0. Like that's how you build an upset. I don't think you're winning this game playing it the conventional way. And obviously those breaks went against them. And the minute that happened, even before the Chiefs kind of shook the rust off, I was like, all right, you're probably screwed. Like that's probably going to be ball game in the end. But I do think it's probably to your benefit to try to play it that way. Cause like playing the conservative beats, it just isn't going to get it done.
Agree. Like even like, yeah, especially with your backup quarterback and all that stuff, and probably understanding what your defense is against Patrick Mahomes, like taking the shots that they took, I think were absolutely warranted. And so I liked that they did that. It's weird that after a 28-7 game, not that I feel good about the Commanders, obviously, after that performance, but I don't necessarily feel like that much worse about them. Like a lot of your mistakes were, some of them were your backup quarterback, you're missing some offensive linemen, and then your defense didn't have a good night, but like they kind of are what they are, and I already knew that. Like it's a tough loss in the box score, but like I think against lesser teams, I'm not any more worried about Washington, really.
But Derek, we've talked about this.
There's not a lot of lesser teams.
When are the lesser teams coming on the schedule?
That's a good point.
It's Seattle next. It's Detroit after that. They do play Miami after that, but after Miami, it's Denver. Like 3 out of the next 4 look tough on paper. And I mean, if you get Jayden Daniels back, hopefully Laramie Tunsil's injury is not too serious and you can count on him returning to the lineup. I'm not trying to say that it's hopeless, especially if Daniels is there, but this is what we were worried about. And now you're 3-5 and it doesn't look like it's getting a lot easier anytime soon. And the other thing I just wanted to say too is like, this is just such a juiceless team, Derek. Like unless Jayden Daniels is in the lineup, and he's one of the most electric players in the NFL, but even your best weapon, Terry McLaurin, like we're not talking about a burner. Like he's an incredible player, don't get me wrong, but like he's the contested catch king. He did his tiptoe thing on the sideline in the end zone. Like that's what Terry McLaurin does. I don't know what the like open field guy who scares the bejesus out of you is. And it's the same thing for the defense too, where it's 36-year-old Bobby Wagner and a bunch of guys who aren't quite sure where they're supposed to be. And that's a tough way to live when you're playing good teams week after week.
That's the thing. And I like, obviously the offense being fickle without Jayden Daniels in the lineup, that part's not surprising. Like I think even last year when they were explosive, we all knew that it was by virtue of Daniels either running or just hitting on all of his deep throws in a way that very few quarterbacks have been able to do. The defense is where I'm like, okay, I know they're missing some guys, but I did not expect ripping Javon Kinlaw out of the lineup to be like a detrimental, like ruins a defense type of thing. Like he's been playing well, but I just didn't expect it to be that fickle.
You didn't like the Commanders front coming into the season, and now you're down Dorrance Armstrong for the rest of the year, and we'll see what the deal is with Kinlaw, but you felt them not having him when he went out in this game. And yeah, I mean, this was a team that needed good injury luck to be what they wanted to be, and they're not getting it so far at all. I mean, forget about Kinlaw, forget about potentially losing Tunsil. I've like if you're missing Daniels for multiple games, then you're already behind the 8 ball. Now add the rest of that stuff on top of it.
Right, like one or the other would have been a problem, let alone both, and that's how you end up here.
Not burying the Commanders. We play the games for a reason. I get it. I mean, they're certainly capable, especially if Jayden is back. But it's like we said this when they lost to the Bears and they had the Cowboys on deck. We were like, this is the tough stretch. If you're not pulling out those games, it's not going to get any easier. And that definitely looked like the case in a very after the initial weirdness, I would say an easy win for the Kansas City Chiefs, who look like they're just kind of revving up for the stretch run here to nobody's surprise at all. Any last thoughts, Derek?
The only final thought I had is that this game was so stupid that we forgot to mention that Rashee Rice like threw the ball at another player, which what seemed like it was kind of an accident, but just very funny that happened. But so many other dumb things happened that we kind of glossed over it.
Not great if you're coming back from suspension for endangering people in an automobile and getting charged with felonies and the whole thing is they talked about it on the broadcast where it's like he's he recognizes the mistake that he made. And I get it. I mean, it's one thing in a highly charged football game, but like doesn't do wonders for people's impressions of you. Maybe if you turn on Monday Night Football and Rashee Rice is throwing the football at somebody. Yeah, that I clocked that as well. But a very convincing win for Kansas City nonetheless. And we will see what all of those different guys can do for their offense moving forward. Like I said, it's Buffalo up next week, so it'll be another huge stage for them to. It sounds so dumb. I keep almost saying like, oh, they got a chance to make a statement. What statement? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They'll probably be hosting the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead once again, if I had to guess. But we'll be there to cover every beat along the way until then. Derrik, I appreciate it as always, man. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We will catch you next time. Thanks a lot.